McLaren is a brand synonymous of motor racing. Formula One is the most obvious connection, but McLaren was also involved with Can-Am racing as well as IndyCar. Founded in 1963 by Bruce McLaren, a former racer himself, it's one of the few brands in the world that invests itself so heavily into racing.
Well, it wouldn't surprise you to know when you come to a building like this that everything we do is about attention to detail. But it's not just attention to detail for detail's sake, it's always with an objective in mind, and 9 times out of 10 that objective is winning. We have other businesses where winning isn't necessarily being first across the line, it's about being the best. But at the end of the day, everything we do is about being better than our peers, better than our competitors.
I have to ask though, you look at Bruce McLaren's vision and actually what Ron Dennis, how has McLaren transpired after all these years to be what it is from those initial ideas?
I think it's because it's the shared value systems that Bruce had and that Bruce imparted on his team, and then when Ron took over, he had very much those same values, but then just took them to a whole new level. Was able to bring in, greater finance, and that gave us the muscle to then develop that vision and take it into other areas.
What I love though is that you stay close to your racing history. This is incredible.
Well, how can we not stay close to our racing history? I mean, our racing history is phenomenal, and we've won 1 in 4 of every Formula One race we've ever competed in.
Unheard.
We've been on the podium for 50% of every race we've ever competed in. So it's a pedigree and a heritage that we're obviously very proud of.
Yeah.
We're not an extrovert business, but we feel very, very proud inwardly of that success. And it's that success that inspires the current generation of people at McLaren to try and take it to another level. How do people feel about all of this heritage?
Yeah.
They feel enriched by it. You can't help but feel inspired by it, and it's one of the key reasons that we have it all on display. Your reaction when you walked in here is no different than anybody's reaction, which is, wow, there's a Senna car, or there's a Prost car, or whatever it is. Everybody has their particular era that they get excited about. And for me, just as one person, to actually see some of the cars here every day that I've actually stood on the other side of the wire from when I was 12 or 13 years old.
Yeah.
I get tingles, I get goosebumps just thinking about it. We've had people break down in tears seeing some of the cars that you've walked past today.
Walking into the MTC, it's as if you're walking into a science fiction movie. Long corridors with highly metallic surfaces. You walk through hallways thinking Trent Reznor should score a soundtrack for all the guests to listen to as they enter the place for the first time. Everything is spotless, everything is clean. You can tell everything is designed obsessively. And I'm not saying that in a cold way. In fact, the architecture allows for so much natural light into the workspaces, it makes you feel awake, alive.
This building was a vision conceived in the kind of mid to late 90s.
Okay.
Ron Dennis always wanted to bring the kind of the federation of companies together under one roof. Mm-hmm. We'd grown exponentially over a period of 20, 25 years. And we really, were wanting the benefits of being back as one kind of collective. Mm-hmm. We then wanted a showpiece both for commercial reasons, so that we could explain to people the vision of what we're all about, and hopefully elicit their investment in us, either as sponsors, partners, or in some cases investors. Mm-hmm. But also to make sure that we could recruit the best people and get the best people to come and share in what it was that we were trying to build. And this facility really does inspire the people who work here. And I think that Ron really was ahead of his time in creating something that people would just want to be in, want to be part of, as well as the success of the business itself, to actually come to a place like this is, it's an awe-inspiring environment in which to work. And it's a little like going on stage. You really feel like you have to up your game when you arrive here every morning.
It is an inviting experience, which makes sense. The MTC opened in 2003, and Ron Dennis was very influential in its design. Inside, you not only have McLaren Racing, but also McLaren Automotive, and the not-so-well-known McLaren Electronics. Walking in here, you look at this. This is not what I was expecting at all.
No, this
looks like a scientific laboratory.
I was just going to say, it looks like a laboratory, but it's not. This is part of McLaren Electronics.
Got it.
So this is where ECUs are actually being physically created. We're printing circuit boards in there. That's high-end stuff. It's not the sexy end of the business, but it's very high-end.
Ron Dennis wanted the building to attract the best engineers and designers, but more importantly, he wanted to keep them there. Walking the hallways, you can tell everyone who works there has a sense of pride to be working within those walls.
It's a very selfless culture. I think we attract like-minded people here who ultimately want to win and want to do the best that they can possibly do in whatever role they have.
Okay.
But they're selfless people who want to come together as a team and understand that actually the old cliche of 1 + 1 = 3, that if they can all come together and be the best in their particular discipline, chances are that we're more likely to succeed or to win. And we have a lot to live up to. We have 49 years of success. In the time that we've been in Formula One, for example, there have been over 100 Formula One teams have failed, have come and gone, left Formula One. So this is no place for the weak or the meek. And we're reminded of those sorts of statistics every year when people either leave the automotive sector or they leave Formula One. And that's part of that pressure to make sure that we're being the best, because it's a slippery pole, either in supercars or in Formula One. It's a slippery pole, and those that aren't near the top have a real struggle.
Now, past the wind tunnel and the Formula One work bays, we walk down a long hallway, all underground. It's very James Bond-like. You then hit a set of stairs, you go up, and then you walk into what is called the McLaren Production Centre. This is McLaren Automotive. This is the future of McLaren.
So right now, this is the north end of the MPC. This is a VIP area. This is a hosting suite. So this is basically where potential customers or dignitaries or any type of VIP can come into this area. And from this area, we lead directly out onto the production facility, just around this corner here.
Okay.
And I think you need to see that.
Let's go check it out. So how old is this place?
So we've been operational in here now for 8 months.
Full production at this point. That is incredible.
We are flat out production, and we have been now since the turn of the year. We have been at full capacity in terms of our planning requirements for this year, and for sure, everything from a production point of view is going absolutely beautifully at this moment.
It's almost like a clean room, and it mimics the MTC, but on a different level. Prior to the MP412C, McLaren built my favorite hypercar, the F1. Then after that, the SLR, which was built right alongside the F1 cars. But now, for the new MP412C, it's an entirely new building. The first thing I noticed there was that there was a lot of unused space. McLaren has been around for about 50 years, but McLaren Automotive is essentially an entirely new company. They built the McLaren Production Centre knowing they would be building other models besides the MP412C.
Actually, what you're looking at now is the best part of 20,000 square metres of floor space on which we wanted to produce the vehicle. We worked really hard to make sure that we could integrate all of the processes that were absolutely critical to ensuring that the assembly of this vehicle was felt at an absolute personal level from an operator's point of view, but also gave the customer a really good feeling that his ownership experience didn't start when he took the car. It actually started at the placement of order, and therefore if he wanted to visit this facility, he could actually come and see his vehicle being birthed. All of the technicians feel as though they're involved in making that person's car. So it's not just a vehicle. They accept that there behind that is a customer and a valued customer, and we wanted to make sure that his ownership experience started right here from the moment we first loaded any components into the facility. If we keep taking a look down here.
So this is phase one right here.
So this is absolutely the start of the process.
Okay, so this is the MP4 12C monocoque right here.
We didn't want any feel of industrialisation in the facility. Okay, we wanted it to be a theatre. It was really important to us that we created environments where everything felt special and everything felt personal. And I think we've achieved that. So what you don't see is you don't see any significant levels of automation. You don't see clunking change. You don't see any conveyors. You won't see airlines or anything like this. It's all very quiet. It's all very composed. And it's all very simple in its execution. If we take a look at some of the racking and what have you, there are a number of components such as fastenings and such as brackets and that where we can clearly hold quite a decent level of stock holding line side. And as you can see with things like the front longies, we've designed some bespoke stillaging to allow us to...
Just for these parts?
Just for these particular parts. And we have bespoke stillaging all around the facility. But I think what's a really good tactile thing about what you're looking at right now is if you look at the diameter and the radius of the bespoke stillaging, it's absolutely the same as the radius and the diameter of the racking. As you can see, this is where the vehicle's being more and more progressed through its build assembly phase. So the windscreen surround is going on there and the B-pillar casting is going on here. So even though we have 100% confidence in the facilities and the equipment and the whole process with these guys, and we are 100% confident, that doesn't stop us taking every single body, and it is every single body, and processing them into the geometric and surface validation station. So this is geometric and surface validation. So basically every single body, even though we're 100% confident it's in a good place, we still want to measure it just to ensure that we don't get any quality drift in the overall body's vehicle assembly status.
So this whole rig here is just for measurement?
So everything that you see in here is absolutely for measurement. So we take a lot of surface points, we take hundreds of surface points, and we take hundreds of geometric points on the vehicle to ensure that we know that the car is in a really good place dimensionally. The body would exit these double doors here, okay, which are closed at the moment, and then it will go into, this is the paint facility now. In essence, the vehicle through this paint facility is processed across two skids. The body goes on one particular skid, and all of the other supplementary panels go onto another. This is the single biggest piece of investment in terms of equipment in the whole of MPC. So we pushed all of the potential suppliers with regards to paint facilities hard in terms of making sure that in their thinking they got absolutely what we were on about in terms of an installation. So whilst all of them could have satisfied us technically, that's not a problem, we wanted to make sure that this was right as well. This was really important for us to make sure that they understood our philosophies, our methodologies, and they could clearly understand that from a brand augmentation point of view, whatever they installed absolutely complemented that. Because what it creates is it creates a completely different mindset of thinking for the technician. What it demonstrates to the technician is that we've thought about their working environment as much as we have the product and the customer. Because if we create the perfect working environment for them, they can only ever give their best of themselves. And I actually think you get that natural transfer into the vehicle then, and you get an uplift of inbuilt vehicle processing quality. I'm absolutely convinced of that. So what you're seeing here now is we're seeing this is what we call skid 2, and it's just had its base coat applied. That won't go forward until they've put the clear coat on those particular booths here. The whole facility, even though we designed the facility such that if we wanted to put robots in here, we could. And whilst robots have got great dexterity, and they have, and you can put all sorts of convoluted and complicated programs into them, there's nothing more dexterous than the human. And what a robot doesn't have as well, it doesn't have the eye as well. It's an application process. Okay, there's nothing emotional about it. It's very clinical. It's just application. Here, these guys can take a view on whether when they think they've done something absolutely the right way or not, and they've got an opportunity to do a level of reparation in the booth should a mistake have been made, or should they see something on the vehicle that they think, oh, that doesn't look quite right, there's an opportunity here to do that reparation. So this is an audit line, and so basically when the vehicle's had its clear coat put on, it goes into the oven through those glass doors there, exits here, and this is the first point we do some inspection. Every single vehicle gets a full surface quality inspection, but the great thing about this facility is we have enough flexibility in here to always do a fix the same day, such that it doesn't disrupt our output requirements for the processor. So it comes all the way down this particular facility here, shuttles across again, and then goes into the polishing and final finish side. Every single car gets a full flattened polish, so that we raise the optical aspect of the vehicle, so we create a far greater level of depth on the colour itself, so you can actually look into the colour and you're not just looking at surface, you're actually looking into the colour.
Everything you see on the car, we like to say it is done for a reason, which means that everything that you see has an effect on the overall performance of the car. And more so also, when they do say form follows function, we don't really, that sounds nice and everything, but with this car pretty much it's form equals function. What looks right works. What we've done is, of course, you have the two main intakes on the front, which are for your intercoolers. Mm-hmm. They specifically have to get a lot of air in there very efficiently and do the job of cooling. But also we have what we call a splitter right here in the front, and that creates a lot of downforce, creates the right feel for the road with the car. This area is very critical underneath. If you rub your hand underneath, you'll feel some what we call diblets. They're little bumps that actually straighten out the airflow underneath, things that you don't even see, but they're on the car. I mean, every detail is really taken to the max on this car. This is what we call biomimicry. There's a lot of influence from what really works in some organisms in the world that use this type of design feature for purpose, basically. We have had a little bit of freedom with the headlights. This is where you can really start to give the car a little bit of a unique look. It's almost as if it's the eyes of the person. Yeah. Eyes do give people a lot of character, so we're not really influencing too much of the technology here. We are using high-tech xenon lamps, but you can see that the actual form of your daytime running lamps sort of creates the feel of the McLaren logo. Uh-huh. We let the light bleed through these three little slots here, which are almost like fins or gills.
Gills, that's exactly what I was going to describe as gills.
And that sort of, when you're in the front, you look back and you see that, it really gives the car its own unique look to it. Another thing that we've really concentrated on is keeping the cowl, the back of the hood, as low as we can for optimal forward visibility. So we pushed it quite far down. That gives us a great viewing angle from the driver's position. And one of the funny things that you would not really notice unless you're actually sitting in the car, it's very interesting, is that the center point of the wheel is directly over the highest point, or directly under the highest point of the fender, which means when you're actually sitting down, you know where your wheels are placed to hit the apex.
Because you see it.
Because you know that the farthest point you're looking at, or the highest point, is actually the center of the wheel, so you can really place it precisely that way. Really important is this blade that we have here on the side, and although it looks kind of like an element that we sat down and designed and had fun with, it really came out of the computer, out of what we call CFD, computational fluid dynamics. Mm-hmm. And in our intent to make the car as small as possible and center all the weight towards the center of the car, we've actually turned the radiators parallel to the direction of the car to get the weight and the mass all towards the middle. So this blade here has been done on the computer such that it generates, or actually keeps the air attached to it, and it throws it in on an accelerated curve, so you get plenty of cooling that way. So this blade is very, very necessary. It adds flavor to the car, makes it more unique, but it's there for a reason, as I said. Another element that I really like on the car is what we call the air brake on the back of the car. And it's not really, we don't consider it a spoiler, it's not even used as a spoiler. It's basically a way of adjusting the braking on the car, so anytime you brake in anger,
In anger, I like that you're...
Well, you know, with intent to brake, I guess, to slow down. It goes 90 degrees, and what happens then is that the center of gravity actually moves back towards the back of the car and puts more weight on the back wheel so that you can actually use the brakes in the rear a little bit more. A lot of the action is actually done by the wind itself, not by pushing it up, but releasing it and letting it go up on its own. One of the design words that we use a lot in the cars to actually, for the language, is actually to almost like shrink wrap the surface. Whereas a lot of cars add volume. What we're trying here to do is take away volume, so you're almost like shrink wrapping the metal over the hard points, which are suspension mounts or vision angles or head clearance angles or whatever. So we're trying to minimize, take weight out of the car by reducing the amount of surface area we have on it.
So this is basically the start of the trim and final part of the process. This is where we start layering the car and installing it ready for us to take it to a point of...
No wiring harness? Wiring harness.
Wiring harness.
Okay.
It's as simple as that.
Yeah.
So we have the opportunity of being able to produce the same amount of cars in this facility as any of our competitors with their levels of industrialisation. You don't actually need that, and we wanted to create a different blueprint for how to build cars.
Okay.
And so if we take a look at these vehicle ramps here, these are a standard vehicle ramp, but we wanted to make sure that we put some nice architectural cladding around it, and we made sure that we set all of the services underneath the tiles as well. So these are, you do not see any lines, and that's why everything is really clean. And it was really important to us that we didn't see trailing air lines and we didn't see trailing cables. Yeah. This is a really interesting feature in the facility. Again, same diameter, same radius. Yeah. But what's really interesting here is that all of the services are in a trench here.
Got it.
So we have this trench that runs the full length of the building. We have those in 3 or 4 places across the building. All of the services actually feed up through the back of these tool cabinets here, so that all of the IT functionality is fed up through here as well, so you don't see any cables here. And if you need to use compressed air or you need to use single phase electrics, okay, it's all embedded within the facility, and you just don't see any cabling. Every single operator is accountable for his work. They work with what we have this like access swipe system. So when the car comes into the facility, every single operator has to swipe his card. If we take a look here, I won't do it because it means I'll have to start assembling parts of the car, but he will swipe his card across the reader there, and then that locks in personally into that particular vehicle to undertake a certain amount of work on that particular car. He's absolutely 100% responsible. Now we're getting into the final stages.
I'm seeing a bunch of grease pen on here, so 248, 248. So that's how you identify.
That's how we identify, absolutely. So this particular panel was painted with this particular body so that we absolutely make sure that we don't get any inconsistencies with colour matching or anything like this.
Got it.
And not only that, we want to make sure that this particular component is going to be reset with this particular door. So we get a really good fit and finish from a gap and profile point of view as well. So what we're doing here now on this particular station, this is the geometry setup lift. This is basically where we do toe, camber, ride heights and all of that sort of thing in readiness for when we go into the dynamic rig. This is where we put the car through its first real dynamic load. So we do an engine fire up further upstream of the process, and this is where we put the car through some dynamic load here now. So basically we bring the car up to temperature, check most of the electrical systems are working, and all of the brains in the vehicle are communicating with each other. We do some brake activity, we do some acceleration, deceleration, but just generally put the car through some immediate dynamic loads.
Yes.
So in essence, the vehicle goes through dynamic rig into the monsoon where we give it a full saturation of water. I know 16,000 litres in about 6 or 7 minutes. It's a huge amount of water. Car exits there. It then gets prepared, ready for external drive appraisal. It will leave through that door there, goes out in its external drive appraisal, where we put it through some more aggressive loads. One of the things, when we were landscaping the whole exterior the outside of the facility, what was really important to us was to try and optimise the land around us as well. So we've got cobbled sections of roadway out there which allow us to shake and rattle the car a little bit just to loosen anything up before we actually take it out on the highways and bio. Obviously during the wetter seasons in the year, the car could come back with some muck and what have you on it. And that's why we just have this wash down rig here now. So we just give the underside a quick wash down and just make sure that the vehicle is fully cleaned before it exits here. It would sit normally on here for 45 minutes just to have a final drip dry. We take a look at the vehicle after it's been out on an external drive. And what we do is we're basically checking to make sure that nothing has worked loose, there are no weeps or leaks or anything like that from any of the joints. Yeah. There's been no displacement of any harness clips or anything like this, and everything is absolutely how we want it to be. A very, very critical station. We're getting ourselves ready to hand the car over to the auditors with what we perceive to be a car that is acceptable for the customer. Okay? The auditors then give it a really thorough investigation and interrogation, and again, they go to the nth degree of checking surface quality, checking fit and finish, checking functionality of all of the systems.
So that's it. These cars go to the customers, right?
These cars are ready to go to the customer.
So where's the car I'm driving?
Unfortunately, it's not one of these, but
okay.
Just for you, we have one back at base.
Cool. Thank you.